Hey, thank you for listening to the Pro Mindset Podcast. We are relaunching our Pro Mindset Pod. We're going to release it every Wednesday morning, so look for it next Wednesday and every Wednesday thereafter. The Pro Mindset Podcast is back. It's better. And our conversations are going to focus on the mindset journeys of the pros. Just like Pizza Hut's slogan, no one out pizzas the hut. As you might guess, no one can out mindset the pros. Today's guest is a professional football quarterback, Nick Tiano, by way of Mississippi State, University of Tennessee-Chattanooga, Houston Texans, the Canadian Football League, the XFL's St. Louis Battlehawks, in which he started this last week for those guys. Nick is a special person. He's a dear friend. And obviously, he's taken a long and winding road during his pro football career. Today, Nick shares his mindset journey in which he has learned to block out the noise. He's learned and practices being all in on his dreams. He sprints without even knowing where the finish line is. And finally, he's learned to create evidence daily that allows him to build his confidence so he is not attached to his circumstances, his environment, the outcomes. He's focused on him. So I want to welcome Nick Tiano to the relaunching of the Pro Mindset Podcast. So Nick, based upon your performance on over the weekend and your skill set, your mindset, your commitment, your talent, you're going to get another opportunity in the NFL. How are you going to be different because you've grown so much? Even training high school kids and middle school kids has probably helped you a lot too. So why don't you first describe how you've grown and how you're going to be a better quarterback moving forward?
Yeah, I think, I'm still a long way from where I want to be, but over the past few years, I think I have made, tremendous strides, both mentally and as a player, as a quarterback. And I think it starts probably mentally. I think 3 years ago, going into this process, I let, external factors and voices and opinions influence me and the way I thought about me and my future and what that looked like. And I think I let the past scar me. And I let the future scare me, if that makes sense. And I think what I've learned over the past few years is I got to focus on, I got to focus on me, and have an unrelenting belief in myself, and just a desire to improve, for me, not because of what anybody else says, not because this guy doesn't believe in me or this team cut me or, any of those things, just because this is my dream. This is what I want to do. And I'm going to give that everything I have. And then as a football player, I think, that plays right into kind of just reevaluating my game and the way I see the game and the position, and how I fit into that, to be able to take the ego out of it and truly assess, what are my weaknesses? Why haven't I made it? Why haven't I gotten that opportunity? And to work on those things. And I think, we can obviously dig into the X's and O's of that, but I think, I've had a lot of time not being a part of a team to just go out on the field by myself and improve, and really assess my game, the strengths and the weaknesses. And I think I'm more prepared now, both physically and mentally, than I ever have been.
Let's dive in just for a minute. I mean, what you said is very prophetic from the standpoint of you now are guarding your belief in who you are, and you're not allowing your circumstances to dictate it. You're not allowing Mel Kipers of the world. You're not allowing coaches that may not see your value, your talent, your leadership. That's a lot of the things you bring to the table. How do you guard your confidence and your belief in who you are when inevitably in football you get told every day you're not enough?
Yeah, no, it's extremely difficult to do. I think you're told every day you're not enough and you're not good enough. And I think you're told also what you should be, especially as a quarterback. I think everybody has this idea of what a quarterback should act like and speak like, and the way he should treat his teammates and coaches. And I think some of those things are really good. But I think for a long time in my career, I tried to fit that mold way too well rather than just being me. And I think it just comes back to focusing on me, personally. How can I be the best version of me, be myself genuinely? And that comes back to, the identity stuff that we've talked about, being confident in who I am, why I do the things that I do, what's important to me, and just sticking rooted to that. And it gets hard to do, right? When things are great and you're the starter and they're paying you a bunch of money and everything's going great, that's really easy to do. But when you're the bottom man on the roster and you're trying to make a team and you're trying to be everything that they want you to be, it's really hard. You have a bad practice, you have a bad day, coach says something to you, and you start wanting to change things. But I think it comes back to you got to have an unrelenting belief in yourself and who you are and stick to that no matter what. Because I think if you do that and it doesn't go your way, you can live with that. But, if you try to be what they want you to be and it doesn't work, you're going to regret that forever.
Well, the unrelenting belief, I 1000% agree with that. And I believe that you're there. But what are some of the things, what are some of the steps you did, mental practices, just boundaries, containers that you have to create that you're only going to let what's for you in and what's not, you're not going to let it in. Kind of be a little bit specific about the Nick Tiano journey of getting to unrelentless belief.
Yeah, I think the first step for me was admitting that, it's okay that chasing this dream is what I want to do. I think, when I got cut the first time, like I said, those external, the voices and opinions, everything's telling you like, man, this doesn't make sense. Your career's over. You need to move on. You need to grow up. You need to get a job, all those kind of things, and you kind of let that weigh on you. And I think I was also afraid of the heartbreak, right? Like, what if I keep trying this and it doesn't work, and it ends up and I'm a failure and I have to face that. But what I realized over time was it's way worse having not tried, right? I'd rather jump all in and sink than not give it a shot at all. So I think I had to admit to myself that, man, this is what I want to do. I want to play football. I want to chase this dream until I can't anymore. And then just being confident in that decision, just knowing, hey, no matter what happens, what anybody says, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it for me. I'm not doing this for anybody else. And, coaches, teammates, players, GM, scouts, all these people, the media, whatever, like you said, what's for you, let it in. What's not, block it out. I think, coaches, a lot of times they say a lot of things to you, and you got to pick apart, what is important for you to hear and what's not. And you can't let anything that any of them say take your confidence away, right? Because there's always going to be people that some believe in you and some won't. And if you let that weigh you down, you're never going to make it, because there's always going to be the naysayers that think you're not good enough.
You shared with me that you met a few quarterbacks, I believe they may have been in Canada, that were in their young 30s still chasing the dream. And they had this spirit of contentment, happiness, joy, even though they didn't have a bank full of money. What did you learn from those guys, and how does that play into your career today?
Yeah, I learned a ton. I think a quote that I like, that I kind of fall back to a lot is, are you willing to sprint when you don't know the distance required? And I think that's kind of what chasing a dream is, like, how long can you go chase this thing? You have no idea where the finish line is, if it even exists, and I think looking at some of those guys that I've met along the way, like you said, there's one particular, a guy from Canada, McLeod Bethel Thompson, like you said, he's 32, 33. He's been in, 6 or 7 NFL camps, been on some teams. He's played in Canada. And, man, he's a great player and an awesome dude, a great teammate, a great leader. And, instead of showing up to practice in Canada pissed off every day that he wasn't in the NFL, he had a spirit of gratitude, man, of love of the game and his teammates. He's thankful for the opportunity, thankful to have a pair of cleats on and still get to go outside and throw a ball every day. And, you look at a guy like that and it's like, he doesn't care what anybody else says or thinks. He's on his journey. He's chasing his dream. He's throwing timelines out the window. He's going to do it for as long as it takes, as long as he's able to do it. And he's going to be thankful for every opportunity, even when it isn't exactly what he wants. And you got to find that kind of happy medium between, being grateful for what you have, but also hungry for more. And that's a hard line to walk.
Okay, I love your quote about, sprinting without knowing the finish line. I just worked out at the gym today and I knew my finish line, and it was still difficult to sprint at the end to get my time. How does that show up on a Monday morning? How does that show up in meetings? How does that show up at practice? How does that show up when you're in the bottom? Everybody starts on the bottom of the depth chart. You're not QB1. Everybody starts somewhere else unless you're a number 1 draft pick. How does that show up for you?
Yeah, I think it's throwing results out the window. You can't attach your identity or, as crazy as it sounds, even your success in a venture to the results necessarily. I think you got to attach it to being who you are and the reason that you do it every day. Because the results sometimes are out of your hands. Like you're saying, you may go to a training camp with 3 quarterbacks and grade out the highest, and they still cut you and keep the other 2. That's nothing. You didn't do anything wrong. You had a great camp, right? They just made another decision. So, how can you approach something every day where you're going to be the same person, be disciplined, stick to who you are, put the work in every single day, whether it goes your way or not, and that's really hard to do. And I think you see that with, athletes. I think with entrepreneurs, like podcasting is a great example. For the last few years, it feels like everybody's wanted to start a podcast. They all think it's going to blow up and they're going to make a ton of money, but you see those stats that the average podcast doesn't make it past, I think, like the 3rd episode. It's like, well, you must not have wanted it that bad. Can you record 100 episodes, 500 episodes, 1,000 episodes without making $1? Most people can't. And I think that's what happens on this journey as a quarterback. The people that don't want it bad enough, they weed themselves out because they can't do that. When they're not getting those results, it's, this is stupid, man. This is a waste of my time. I'm going to go do something else. But if you really want it and it's really what you want to do, then you detach yourself from those results and you just put the work in and be the same guy every day and trust that that's going to be enough at some point.
You and I have talked in conversations about QB1 energy because the coaches feel it. The coaches sense it. Your teammates sense it. And there can be more than one quarterback that has QB1 energy. And I'm not talking about smack talk. I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about energy, how people feel you when you walk in the room. How did you approach QB1 energy with St. Louis the last 3 months?
Yeah, I think different than any other opportunity prior to this in my life. I showed up to this with the intent of just being, myself, unapologetically, not trying to be who they wanted me to be, but having extreme confidence in who I was as a person and a player. And they were either going to like that or they weren't. And if they didn't, I've shifted my mindset. That's their loss. It's not because I did anything wrong. That's their loss if they don't like me for who I am. And I think when you show up with that kind of confidence in yourself, your teammates feel that, the coaches, the trainers, everybody can sense that you have the confidence that, you are who you say you are, and you're going to go out on the field and you're going to do your job. And I don't think it's necessarily about what your completion percentage or your touchdown interception ratio. I think it's like you're talking about. It's an energy that everybody can feel, that you're confident in who you are. And then I think coaches and teammates and all those people, they sense that, and then they in turn have more confidence in you.
Okay, so you faced a lot of adversity in your career, and most guys do. I mean, I was watching 30 for 30 last night, and it was on Doug Flutie, and it's amazing, how he played pro football for a long time, for like in 4 different leagues, and he was 5'9", and he was 5'9" in an era when 5'9" was a deal breaker, a deal killer for most quarterbacks. But with respect to you, Saturday, you got your first start and you played an excellent game. But let's just talk about what all the coaches see. They see the 3 passes you wish you could have got back. How did you never wavered. I was at the game. I was in the stands. I was sitting next to your wife for most of the game. You never wavered. Your energy never changed. Your mojo never changed. When you threw a pick, how did you maintain your confidence and your belief when the results and the outcome wasn't what you were hoping for?
Yeah, it's tough to do, and it's taken a lot of practice, obviously. But I think it comes back to everything that we're talking about here. It's the confidence in yourself and detaching yourself from the results, and knowing that if a good thing happens, okay, I'm still going to show up the next play, the next day, whatever the case may be, and do my job. If something bad happens, same thing. I'm going to show up and do my job the next play, and have confidence that I can get that done. And I think ultimately it comes back, you can't focus on coach might have yelled at you on the headset, your teammates might be looking at you funny, but at the end of the day, you got to have that unrelenting belief in yourself that you can go out and get the job done. And I think, a lot of that comes back to, for me, you get that confidence by building evidence for yourself. That's kind of a concept that I've kind of come to recently that I really like is, I'm constantly building evidence for myself in the work, in the preparation, on and off the field, and who I am, so that in those moments, when it's time to perform, when it's game day, I can be confident because I've given myself this backlog of preparation that I know I can get the job done in that moment.
Well, it's a little bit like in basketball, the shooter mentality. If you look at a guy like Steph Curry, he doesn't have too many slumps, but let's say he goes 0 for 5 to start a game. His sixth shot is like he made the first 5. His energy is like his confidence is like he made the first 5, even though he missed the first 5. So for quarterbacks, it's very similar. Would you agree or no?
No, it's exactly the same thing. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. I mean, the belief that he has that the next shot's going to go in, I mean, that's exactly the mindset that you got to have. And it's the same thing, I think, your teammates can feel that. You look at Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or these guys, if one of those guys throws a pick, their teammates aren't sweating it because they can feel that Pat, or Tom Brady, they're not worried about that. They know they're going to show up the next play and get the job done. So yeah, you just cannot let the results or these external factors shake, the belief that you have in yourself.
Okay, so let's share with the audience that you've done some coaching and you've trained some quarterbacks. What are the things that you would share with a high school kid, college kid who plays quarterback that what's the top 5 things you got to do to be successful as a quarterback? And, dad and quarterback coach are going to tell him that, hey, man, you got to work on your arm strength, your velocity, your accuracy. But you and I both know it's other things. What are those things?
Yeah, I think number one is confidence, this stuff that we're talking about. I think, the more that I study great athletes or even, great entrepreneurs, whatever, I think confidence is the greatest separator once you get to that elite level. Like if you took the top 32 quarterbacks, all 32 starters, and you put them on a field in black T-shirts and shorts without names, they're all going to look great. They can all throw the heck out of the ball and it's going to spin and they're going to be athletic. But when you put them in the game environment, they're different in some way, right? And I think the separator for a lot of those guys is just confidence. So I think that's number one. And I think you got to be able to tune out the outside noise, whether it's your own coaches, your teammates, your family, your friends. People are always going to have things to say and they're going to pull you in a million different directions. You got to know what's good for you and keep your priorities straight on that journey. And then I think, it's all decision making. It's like, and I had this conversation with a lot of kids. It's every kid's going to tell you their goal is to play in the NFL. But how many of them are living in a way that gives them a chance to reach that goal? And the reality is most of them, weren't or aren't. And I think it's teaching those kids is like the clock is ticking always, every day, and somebody out there is putting the work in. Somebody out there is getting a little extra film, a little extra work on the field. Maybe they're going to bed an hour earlier instead of playing video games. All this stupid stuff. It's corny and it's cliche, but it all matters. And I think that's the thing that I look back on in my life is everything matters. The decisions that you're making at 17 are going to affect you when you're 27. So I think, if that is truly your dream and that truly is what you want to do, you have to commit to it at an extreme level. And know that most people aren't willing to do that. So if you can, you're going to separate yourself.
Okay, I'm going to go back to one of those. You gave 4. Confidence, block out the noise, decision-making, which is alignment with your dream. and commitment. You alluded to the fact that stockpiling evidence is the way that you build confidence. How do you tell a 20-year-old sophomore in college that's, streaky with his confidence, but he's got uber ability? I mean, he can throw at 70, he's got all the skills, but there's something missing. What is your secret, or what is your system for developing your confidence?
Yeah, I think it's daily actions. What are you doing every single day that is going to give you, the evidence so that you can be confident when the time comes to perform, and I think for me, a lot of that's physical work. I like to see myself make every single throw so that I know, hey, if I get that rep in the game, I'm going to make the throw. From a mental standpoint, obviously, your own playbook, what the defense is going to do. All those kind of things. A lot of people know those, but I think one big one that I think about recently, and I've heard a speech on this recently, is, you can't be afraid to be great, and it kind of sounds funny, but I think I've felt that at times where, whether it's just a single throw, like maybe that guy's coming open over the middle, and he's coming open, but you just kind of aim it, and the ball goes a little low. You didn't just rip it with confidence. You didn't trust yourself. You were afraid to kind of make your best throw in that moment for whatever reason. You're scared to make a mistake. And I think I would tell all these young kids, don't be afraid to go out there and be great and to play your best game. Jump 2 feet in the water. That's kind of like the way I look at it. It's like, don't be afraid to go all in. Don't hold anything back. Because I think, a lot of guys do, because we're all afraid to make a mistake. And we're all afraid if you do make that mistake that everything could be over. You could be, dream could be dead. You're out of the game. You're benched, whatever the case may be. So you got to eradicate fear from your life, from your game, so that you can play confidently and be your best.
You and I talk a little bit about playing the game in your mind versus playing the game in your heart. And from my perspective, if a player is playing the game in his mind, he's playing 2 games at once. He's playing the opponent, and he's really playing with himself, because he's having that conversation with his inner voice that's saying, hey, is this good enough? Is this the right decision? Hey, is coaching liking what I'm doing? Are my teammates following me? Am I being a good leader? What's the scoreboard saying? So on and so forth when you play in your head. But when you play in your heart, you can eradicate fear. You can basically allow your confidence to rise to the top. What are your thoughts about mind-heart dichotomy?
Yeah, no, I think that was really well said. And I'm watching The Last Dance again right now, the documentary on Michael Jordan, and I think that's a great example of that. He was so confident, especially as the later he got in his career, when they're winning championships. He didn't care what you thought of him, what his teammates, what the media, what his coaches. He was so confident in himself, your opinion or your thoughts on that, did not even matter. When he showed up on the court every night, he was playing out of his heart, and he was playing to win. And if that meant he had to score 50, he was going to score 50. If that meant he had to, grab one of his teammates by the jersey and wake him up, that's what he was going to do. If he had to yell at the coach, that's what he was going to do. There wasn't all this thought, overanalyzing every little action. He was just playing the game to win, and it was as simple as that. And I think when you get to that level as an athlete, that's when you can really kind of unlock another level of play for yourself. And it's like relating it back to playing quarterback. It's like, we've all been there where it's the third quarter, and you're like, man, what? I'm probably 12 for 20 here. Man, I need to complete some more balls. That completion percentage is low. And it's like, no, that's so stupid. You know what? Your brain shouldn't be there. Man, coach said this after that last year. Why'd he say that, man? Is he thinking about putting the other guy in? Like those thoughts are absolutely just a waste, And I think you got to find that spot where you're so confident in yourself, you're locked in on doing your job and winning, and then your play is going to go to another level.
Okay, let's look at the NFL, and maybe this is taking you back to when you were 15. Maybe it was, last week, but who's the quarterback in the NFL that you love his game, love his mental approach, love love his performance on the field. And if you could be a little bit more like him, who would that be?
Yeah, man, there's so many, throughout my life, I've had such an appreciation for just great athletes in all sports because it takes so much. Quarterbacks too. One for me that it's close to me just because, I had the chance to play with him, but, like Dak Prescott is somebody I look up to so much because I think Dak, like his leadership and his toughness, allows him to play at a level that's almost like, he's constantly overachieving and going above and beyond what people say he should be able to do. I've seen it since college. People have doubted him. He's one of the greatest players in SEC history, but he still goes in the fourth round. And even now today, everything he does, obviously playing for the Cowboys, there's haters everywhere. People constantly doubt him. Should he have gotten paid? Should they draft one of these other guys this year? And he just doesn't care. His focus is on winning, doing his job for that franchise, winning a Super Bowl, being a leader in that locker room, being the toughest guy on the field. And I think that's kind of who I want to be as a player, because at the end of the day, like, there's always going to be somebody that's maybe a little faster than you or maybe has a better arm than you. But I think, the way that you can last and the way that you can separate yourself is kind of those qualities, the leadership, the toughness, the way you treat your teammates. Those things are really what matters the most. And those are the guys that I respect the most that kind of show that every day.
Okay. When you were in the real world for a minute, what was the turning point for you to say, I'm going all in on football, not knowing where the finish line was, not knowing if you were even going to get another opportunity, not knowing if you were going to have a chance to get back to the NFL or XFL or any of these types of places? What was the turning point for you?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think going on and getting that job was almost guarding my heart. Like I was afraid of the consequences of chasing the dream. But there's another quote that I like. I think it was Michelangelo that said it, but he said that, our greatest fear is not that we aim too high and fall short. It's that we aim too low and we reach it. And that one really hits home with me. I think, and for a lot of people, for anybody who's chasing a dream, it's an athlete, an entrepreneur, whatever the case may be, you always have those thoughts that you could get out at any moment and just go the safe route and play it safe and do well doing that, and everything would be great at the end of the day. And that's happy. But you'd always know in the back of your head that you kind of sold yourself short, and that you wish you would have gone all in on chasing that dream and chasing that opportunity. And that's kind of the place that I got to. It was almost a turning point in the road, and it was like, okay, it's either time to go all in on this or get out of it. And I knew if I got out, I was going to regret it forever. And I decided to go all in. And man, I'm so thankful that I've done this because I've got such clarity in my head. Before making that decision every day, it was like, man, what should I do? Am I doing the right thing with my life? But since making that choice, man, it's clear headed. It's like I have a single mission. And a single path that I'm on, and I know it's the right one because I have no questions in my head.
Okay, so you had a little bump in the road this last weekend where you injured your foot, so you're kind of like sidelined for a minute during your recovery, but the next step is to go to the NFL. You have a lot of contacts in the NFL, coaches that coached you, know you. What do you want them to know about Nick Tiano version 2.0 that maybe they didn't see 5 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think, I guess in my eyes, I'm just a more complete version, a more confident version. And I know the value that I can bring to a team. Like, yeah, would I love to start and play and win championships, Super Bowls, all that kind of stuff? Absolutely. But I also knew who I am as a person and the type of teammate that I'm going to be and the type of person for an organization, and the type of guy in a building that they want, and I think I bring something that, I guess, a mindset approach that a lot of guys maybe don't have just because of the road that I've been on. There's not a lot of guys in the NFL that have had to go get a real job and went to Canada, went to the XFL, and I've been on this journey that I've been on the last few years. I think it's reshaped me. It's given me a new appreciation for the game, a new love for the game, a new respect. And man, I just have extreme gratitude for any opportunity to go play football again and be in a locker room. And I think, when you come with that approach, guys can feel that. I think a locker room can feel that. I think coaches can feel that. It's not a compare. I'm not showing up to compare myself or be better than this guy or that guy. I'm just showing up and I'm me, and I'm confident in that, and I'm thankful to be here. And I'm going to give you everything that I have, and appreciate this every day, because I know it can be taken away, and I know what the other side looks like. And I guess that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, I want to add to that and let them know that you have a tremendous amount of physical skills. And I think your mental skills and your mental capacity is matching your physical skills. And I think if a team gives you an opportunity, which we're hoping they do, you're going to go in and contribute. You're going to be ready when you need to be ready. You're going to help the starter when you need to help the starter. And you're not going to be attached to the outcomes. You're not going to be a guy that's going to be high and low. You're going to be steady, because I feel like your confidence is going to carry you through. And when obviously the NFL there's so much pressure. The difference between making it is a lot of money or no money. It's being in the NFL or being on the streets. So it just seems like it's high stakes poker. Okay. And I believe that you're in a position physically and mentally that you will beat the odds, because if they sign you, they're not probably going to expect you to make it. They're expecting you to come in and contribute in camp. They're going to, challenge somebody, but I think you're going to whip somebody. And where you're at today, are you 25 right now?
26, yep. 26.
So as a 26, Kurt Warner didn't even get in the NFL until he's 28. So it's like in quarterback world, you're still a young man, a young prospect. So I am prayerful and hopeful that a team will take a shot on you this summer and get you into training camp this fall. Last thing I want to say, Nick.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. Yep.
Last thing I want to say is you got a great support system. So I'd like for you to give a shout out to your wife and your family, your parents. This is your opportunity to say thank you to these guys.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, obviously, like you said, my wife, Chloe, she's had to listen to more of these talks than anybody else. She's been on this journey now for the past few years. She's been to Houston. She's been to Canada. She's been to St. Louis and Texas and Colorado, everywhere we've been, man. And, honestly, she pushes me more to continue to chase this dream. And I'm so thankful for that, because she believes in me and she wants this for me. And she sees the joy that chasing this brings me. Couldn't do it without her. And my family, my mom and my dad, obviously, former teammates, friends, close family. You're absolutely right. I've been so lucky my whole career to have such a big support system. And I'm so thankful for all of them. I wouldn't be here today without so many people, so many mentors that have helped me, like yourself. Man, I'm just, I'm thankful for all of it. And I think that's kind of, that's one of the biggest shifts for me. Instead of being upset about the circumstances, I'm not in the NFL and I've had to take this hard road. Man, I'm thankful for it, because it's made me who I am. It's changed me. It's forced me to grow in ways that I would have never done had this not happened. And I've had a lot of people be with me all the way through it. So no, super thankful, man, for so many people.
Well, for those listeners, it's going to be pretty cool when you're playing in the NFL down the road. And I truly believe, even what I saw on Saturday, just your charisma, your leadership, your command of the game operations, your offense, your performance, just your ability to. There was a pretty tough game. It was like you guys didn't go out and blow them out. You won in overtime, and every play mattered. Especially, the whole game, but especially in the second half. So you demonstrated to me that you're ready for the NFL, because when you get to the NFL, training camp is going to be like one of those games in the second half where every day there's going to be a little bit of pressure. You just got to block it out. Just got to be you. Be the best version of Nick Tiano and live with the outcome.
No doubt. And I think, what you said earlier about being steady, I think that's something that I've grown to take a lot of pride in. And I think that's kind of been, all this mindset shift that we're talking about. It's being the same guy every single day, every play, no matter what's going on. And I think that's what I try to do in the game, whether it was a good play, a bad play, whatever, just be steady through it all. And I think that's the only way to survive on this journey. As an athlete, or like I've said, anybody chasing a dream, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be detours. The finish line, the end goal, the reward, it's not going to be where you think it's going to be, for most of us. So can you find a way to be the same person every day, apply the same discipline and the same work every single day, no matter what's going on? And I think if you can do that, you give yourself a chance to succeed.
Hey, Nick, thank you for being on today. Take care of yourself. We'll do this again when you're a member of an NFL team.
Looking forward to it, Craig. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for tuning in to the Pro Mindset Podcast. If you enjoyed the listen, please leave a 5-star rating. If the message resonated with you and you have a friend or colleague who you believe would benefit, then please share this episode with them. You can follow Pro Mindset Podcast on the following social media platforms. On Instagram and YouTube, Pro Mindset Podcast. On Twitter and Facebook, Pro Mindset Pod. And on LinkedIn, Pro Mindset. I hope you join us next week, as we will release our shows every Wednesday morning. And I want to leave you with the challenge. Can you take a coaching point from Nick Tiano today and dare to sprint if you cannot see the finish line? If you do, this will help you unlock the pro inside you.